What is up, German metal fans? So today I'm going to be talking about Gravedigger. And okay, so of course, go get yourself a snack or something. Story time. Gravedigger is indeed one of my top favorite bands. I discovered them a long time ago I was looking up Blind Guardian, and this song Excalibur kept coming up, and every time I would download this song Excalibur, I'm like, it sounds great, but I couldn't find it on any Blind Guardian album. And it took me like a year or two later before I found out that was Gravedigger. So that was my first encounter with Gravedigger, and I freaking loved that song. One of the best, coolest songs ever. So and you know, I through all the years I've bought all their albums, and that they have like maybe 21 albums now. And I finally got the opportunity to see Gravedigger in like 2000, I don't know, 15, 16. I can't remember really. But and it was a great experience. Although when I went on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise, I seen them on there too. And you know what? I've come to the conclusion, I don't think they're the friendliest band of all time, especially Chris Boltondoll. So he just kind of acts like, I think he's got kind of a rock star attitude, and he doesn't really like to talk to his fans or even really like acknowledge it. He won't even say hi if you walk past him. Like, he's just kind of rude. So I've kind of listened to Gravedigger a little less over the years because of that experience. But on the flip side, on that same cruise, Rage was there under the name Refuge, and they were super cool to me, and actually had a long conversation with them. And so, you know, I've became Rage up here, Gravedigger a little down here now. So but I still support Gravedigger. If there's something I can say about Gravedigger, they are one of the most true heavy metal bands, one of the most consistent heavy metal bands. So, and they really don't let you down musically, but just don't meet them. I don't know. But anyway, I might be jumping the gun here on this worst to best video. The reason why I say that is I haven't bought the newest two albums. You know, it was during the whole COVID thing. I pretty much gave up on a lot of stuff and just lost interest in a lot of stuff for a couple of years, and I just hadn't looked it up. But I'm going to do the albums that I have. I've got those Gravedigger albums coming here soon, so you know, I'll do a video on those separately. But all right, let's start from my least favorite, and some of these are going to surprise you. Now, some of these could be like a certain day I could feel better about one album than another, but I'm going to do this stuff kind of based on who's in the band, what guitar player, you know, the production, how Chris Boltondoll himself sounds, repetitiveness, you know, like, you know, are they recycling, you know, stuff like that. So anyway, let's start from my least favorite. And I am number 19, I am putting Digger Stronger Than Ever on there as my least favorite. Now, okay, on one end, it's not that bad. It's actually listenable. There's actually even some speed metal songs on there. There's even like one thrash metal song on there at the end. And even the commercial sounding stuff isn't the worst stuff I've ever heard. There's a few stupid things on there, but I just put it last because it is commercial. It is one that's harder to listen to, harder to be in the mood for than other Gravedigger albums. So that automatically makes it last. Number 18. I know y'all probably going to think I'm crazy, especially the Metal Archives reviews I've read. Living Dead. I think this album is good. Now, here's another thing. Gravedigger's full of good albums. They don't have any bad albums or terrible albums. But I just kind of lost some interest. Not only was I disappointed with meeting Gravedigger, but they just keep putting out albums so fast, and I feel like they kind of started to get into a rut. And on this album, you know, they had the guitarist Axl Ritt. he's probably my least favorite Gravedigger guitarist, and not because he's bad. I just think by this point, I just feel like they've just been in some sort of a rut. I just think he's one of the least interesting guitarists in the band. He's had his moments, but he's just one of the least interesting. But the Living Dead, it just feels like more of the same. It doesn't really add anything super fresh to the Gravedigger catalog, even if the album is good. So I don't know. That's really all I got to say about that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there's other things on there that hit me a little harder. Number 17, Healed by Metal. Kind of the same thing. It's not bad. It's quite enjoyable, but you know, I just feel like there's an album they did called Return of the Reaper, and I felt like this kind of breathed some new life into the band. And, you know, it had a certain sound to it. It was like, you know, this is like a fresh new start. I like this. And then Healed by Metal came out, and I'm like, it's like that, but not as good. Like, just, it's like, I feel like it's kind of gone a little bit downhill a little bit. So, I don't know, man. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there's things I just think are a little better, a little more interesting. Number 16, a lot of people consider Liberty or Death one of the worst Gravedigger albums. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's all that bad. This one had Manny Schmidt on guitars. And while he did bring a couple of the best albums to the table for Gravedigger, he did play on some that, and I don't think it's necessarily him. It might just be Chris Boltondahl just kind of wearing down and running out of ideas and ways to go with the band himself. I love Manny Schmidt. I mean, he played with Rage, so I feel like Liberty or Death is actually while it's not one of the most exciting, most adventurous albums I've ever heard by Gravedigger, it's actually better than you would think. It's got some atmosphere to it. I actually like the sound of it. Like the tone of the guitars, the production of it sounds better than, and I always did like Manny Schmidt's, he probably had the best sounding guitar tone out of everybody in the band, in my opinion. So, I don't know. I just think it's one of a more enjoyable listen probably than a typical, Axl Ritt album, but, you know, it loses some points for not being as bold and creative, maybe, but I still think it's a good album. Not as bad as other people make it out to be. Number 15, Ballads of a Hangman. And man, when I was making this list, I had it higher and it just kept going down, and I would like re-listen to it to kind of revisit it. I don't know why. I kind of used to think this album was like really incredible, and I'm not saying it's bad. There's some incredible songs on it, but I think it's not as good as I thought the first time I got it. Like, I don't know. Like, when I first got it, I thought it was a little cooler than what it is now. It's still really good. Again, it's got Manny Schmidt on it. I just think there's a lot of typical Gravedigger moments on here, although it's very good. I like the way the guitars sound. Once again, it's Manny Schmidt. I like his riffs, but as far as like choruses and stuff go, it's not one of the most memorable. It don't stick out the most out of other Gravedigger albums, but it's still good. Number 14, Clash of the Gods. When I first got this one, I kind of thought it was weak. And of course, this is another Axl Ritt album. I thought it was weak. I just kind of thought, man, Gravedigger's losing it. And then I started listening to it more and more, and it quickly like clicked. Like, this is actually a pretty good album. It's not one of the most adventurous. It's not one of the most over the top, but the songs are good. Like, they're really, really good. I love songs like Hell Dog. I love songs like Medusa. I know there's a couple other ones on there that I kind of forgot the titles of, because I listen to them on my phone now, and some of them don't have the titles on it. But No, this album's really good. The production's not quite as amazing as some past albums, and of course, Axl Ritt's guitar sound was never one of my absolute favorites, but there is kind of like this raw charm to it. It's a good album. It's really moved up on me. So yeah. Number 13, Clans Will Rise Again. Sometimes I forget how good this album is. While as far as the Scottish history stuff goes, I wouldn't say it's as good as like Tunes of War, but it's actually really, really good. It's excellent. This is another Axl Ritt album, probably one of his best moments. I don't know what to say. It's got some good, memorable, epic songs, some nice Scottish sounding stuff on it. I don't know. Good album. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, it's not perfect. There's some stuff on there that kind of falls into the typical Gravedigger song category, but no, most of the stuff's pretty memorable, and it's headbangable for sure. Number 12, Last Supper. I don't know what it is, but I bought this album like right after it came out, and like this was like what, the early 2000s or something, or like 2005, 4, something like that. And this is also a Manny Schmidt album, and who I'm a big fan of once again. This came out after what, Rheingold, and I kind of thought, a lot of people kind of thought this album was a letdown, and I didn't think it was quite as good as Rheingold, but it's actually really, really good. And not to throw in any like personal belief stuff in here too much, but I am a Christian, and looking at the album cover, I was like, it's like I'm sitting here thinking, is this blasphemous, or like what's going on here? But I really think it's just it's more of just telling a story. There's really no viewpoint about it. It's just telling a story. So I guess it's safe in that regard. But it's one thing that kind of made me not want to listen to it too much, is because I didn't know where 100% where it was, the intentions were. But it's a great album though. I mean, it's heavy. It's kind of heavy, like sort of like Rheingold and the Gravedigger, but not quite. It's different. It's a little more traditional heavy metal in my opinion, but there are some bangers on there for sure. Some good melodies. I don't think the melodies are as good as the prior two Manny Schmidt albums, but no, it's a really, really good album. So it moved up on me. I finally gave that album a little more of a chance and gave it some more listens even recently. Yeah, don't pass it up. Number 11, Return of the Reaper. This album, when it came out, it surprised me. Not only does it look fantastic with an amazing album, like probably one of the best album covers they've ever had. It just looks great. And this is Axl Ritt. I always thought his guitar tone always sounded a little clunky. Not bad, but a little clunky, a little rough. But on this album, I felt like everything sounded a little more darker and solid, more compact. I don't know. Even if the album does kind of sound a little bit muddy, I think his tone is a little bit muddy as of late, but it's still really good. It was like something different. They even changed the Gravedigger logo a little bit. I'm not sure if I love that or not. I don't like changing a classic, but it almost felt like this album was supposed to be like a rebirth for the band, and it kind of was. But it didn't really last, in my opinion. Like, I thought, like, there's some great things coming ahead, and I kind of felt like they just started recycling after that. They just kept trying to do Return of the Reaper over and over. But, which I haven't checked out the two newest albums, so I don't know about that. But no, this album is just good, solid, heavy metal. It doesn't really do anything super fresh. It just kind of has they just kind of like got some extra energy, some extra youthful punch in there. Just, I don't know. It's a good album. I've seen him on that tour, and yeah, I don't know. I just think it's the best of the newer Axl Ritt stuff. All right, Witch Hunter. This album is kind of a weird one. I probably should have put this lower in a way, but let me explain. So finally we got an album with Uwe Lulis on it, if that's how you say his name. Uwe Lulis, I don't know. But he's the original Gravedigger guitarist, and in my opinion, he is really the Gravedigger guitarist, even though I love Manny, but I feel like Uwe Lulis deserves to be in the band and the guitarist. So this is the second Gravedigger full length. It's got its problems, but this is back when Chris Boltondahl used to actually sing a little higher and actually sounded, I don't know, more like, I don't know, a singer. Like, so, and I'll talk about his voice later a little bit. I'll add some more comments on that. But he's kind of singing a higher raspy range. But the music here is, you know, you're just kind of typical 80s heavy power metal, traditional metal type stuff, you know, maybe a little bit of Accept on steroids, maybe. I think the songs on here are good. The reason why I put this higher up is because, first of all, I like Chris's voice on here more, and I like Uwe Lulis. I like his riffs and stuff on here, and I just like the 80s energy of this album. And it's kind of it's a different album, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like later Gravedigger, and sometimes just something being different makes it better, like just by default, because it doesn't run into the same problems that, I don't know, like Healed by Metal and Living Dead have run into. So that's why I have it higher. It's a good album. I wouldn't even call it one of the very, you know, definitely not one of the very, very best, but I just think it's a special album in their catalog. Number 9, The Reaper. Kind of falls into the same category as Witch Hunter. This is kind of like their comeback album after they did that Digger thing and then, you know, tried to sell out. It didn't work, and then they did this thing called Hawaii, and which basically I think is just songs off of a lot of songs off like The Reaper. I don't know what the album is called, like something Bottles and 4 Coconuts or something. I don't know what the heck they were thinking. But anyway, yeah, The Reaper kind of comes back with a vengeance. I mean, it's just got probably one of the most energetic, fastest Gravedigger albums, and Chris kind of sings in that higher register, and yeah, I don't know, it's just got a lot of energy to it. Like, it's just, that's kind of what makes this album. It's probably not one of the most memorable in like choruses or anything, but just the fact that they sound like they're coming back to fight, you know what I mean? Like they're not going down yet, we're coming back. And yeah, so that's why I got The Reaper on there, and it is a fun album. So number 8, this one, a lot of people, I don't know, this could be, some people might agree, some people might even have this album higher, I don't know, but number 8, Heavy Metal Breakdown. This is their debut, and I have to put this album a bit higher because while I don't even understand this album to a degree, I don't know why I like it so much. I shouldn't like it that much. It's nothing spectacular. Musically, it's pretty kind of mediocre in a sense. Nothing really special happens on it, but why is it so fun? I don't know. I find myself reaching for this album sometimes more than the rest of them. I listen to this album more than I should. And the whole thing's not a masterpiece. I mean, there's songs on there that's really not that great. Like We Wanna Rock You or whatever it is okay. You know, like there's just a couple tracks are just okay, but Headbanging Man, Heavy Metal Breakdown, Back from the War, I think is what it is, something like that. These songs I just keep coming back. There's a raw sound to it. It just sounds a little bit, it just sounds metal, man. This is just like spikes, leather, and denim 100%. Like, this is just pure metal. That's just why I listen to it. And I love Chris. Actually, one of the few times where I can say I love Chris's voice on this. It sounds cool. It's different. It's unlike anything you've ever heard, really. So yeah. Number 8, Heavy Metal Breakdown. I know some people that's their favorite album, but I can't quite go that far because, well, I just can't. Number 7, Excalibur. Well, Excalibur was that... So that was the first song I ever heard was Excalibur, and the album's pretty great too. And again, this is Uwe Lulis on it, which, you know, I think is the true Gravedigger guitar player. Well, I don't think this album's necessarily completely masterful in its entirety. Like, there's some songs that just don't stand out as much as other songs. But you got songs like Pendragon, you know, the intro to the album is really cool. You know, then you got Excalibur, and I don't know, there's some great songs on here. It's a really beefy, thick sounding production. It's just a mean album, and Chris kind of sounds, he's kind of in his prime here when it comes to his lower modern type of voice. He sounds really, I don't want to say good, it is Chris Boltondahl, but it sounds powerful here at least. All right, number 6, War Games. Man, this is gonna be a longer video than I thought. War Games. So this is an 80s album. This one, so after Witch Hunter, they did War Games, and then this was the last album they did before they did that Digger fiasco. But War Games it's got a little bit of elements from like Heavy Metal Breakdown and Witch Hunter, but this one's a little more, I think they're trying to be a little more, I don't want to say commercial, but they're trying to go for the bigger choruses. The sing-along chorus is a little more here. You know, I can hear a little bit of Accept type stuff here, but I can kind of hear them going in a little more of a radio direction, maybe. But man, the song's still good. There's some good speed metal songs on here, some good heavy, even like Judas Priest type songs on here. I love this album, and Chris Boltondahl, again, using his higher vocal range, sounds more like a singer and rather than a garbage disposal. But yeah, I think this is a really underrated album. Really fun, really memorable. Do not pass it up. Number 5, Heart of Darkness. Some people think this is the true start of Gravedigger's legacy. I think it really started with Heavy Metal Breakdown, but Heart of Darkness is a kind of the album that where they found their sound, I guess you can say. Like, you can kind of, like Uwe Lulis kind of found his tone. Chris Boltondahl kind of found his vocal style, for better or for worse, whatever, however you want to look at it. Yeah, the songwriting style, the type of choruses. I mean, I feel like they kind of found a groove here. And the songs are very memorable. I mean, this is just a solid album. It's really nothing that's quite, you know, super unusual or anything. It's just freaking good. That's all I have to say about that. Number 4, Tunes of War. The first album they did revolving around Scottish history. This album's great. Not only is it super heavy and it's a lot of headbangable moments, you know, like freaking songs like Braveheart and I don't know. I'm starting to forget some of the titles, but the song Rebellion is probably one of the best Gravedigger songs ever written, period. It's you know, it's a great album. There's a lot of great choruses on here that really stick with you. Definitely one of the best. And of course, it's a Uwe Lulis album, of course. The Gravedigger, number 3. This was one of the earliest Gravedigger albums I heard, and I loved it. It's super heavy. This is a Manny Schmidt album. This is when I said that Manny Schmidt delivered 2 of the greatest Gravedigger albums. This is one of them. This album is just heavy as heck and dark, and Chris Boltondahl actually, one of the few times where he actually sounds straight up cool, not even really all that awkward or goofy. He actually sounds cool on this album. It works. Yeah, sometimes I think it's the way he's mixed in with the production. And speaking of the production, freaking great sounding album. Everything about this just screams heaviness. So yeah, The Gravedigger, look into it now. Number 2, Rheingold. you know, this actually might be the first Gravedigger album I ever bought, actually. I bought it from Abyss Records. If you watch my other videos, you know I've shopped there a lot. I don't even know if it's existed anymore, even as an online store. I don't know. But yeah, I bought Rheingold, and my friend Dave bought Rheingold, like, probably, I think he bought it first, then I went back and bought it. And this is a great album. Again, Manny Schmidt. This could almost be their best album, but there's one that just surpasses it. But this one's super epic. Just like a lot of like Viking type lore type sounding stuff. It's medieval. It's just so good. This album is so ballsy. It's probably one of their ballsiest albums. Probably one of their heaviest, beefiest albums they got. Freaking do not pass it up. And one of their most epic sounding in a way. So yes. And number one, last, certainly but not least, Knights of the Cross, a Uwe Lulis album. This one, while I think Chris Boltendahl sounds probably the most goofiest on this album. I mean, there's times like he's really, really goofy sounding. But, because I think the album's kind of does have this dry sound to it, and Chris just he sticks out like a sore thumb. But don't let that scare you off, because the music on here is phenomenal. Definitely the most epic, definitely the most thought-provoking, definitely the most atmosphere, definitely the most memorable. I mean, everything about this album is just, there's even moments that puts me in the mind of like the kind of like atmosphere that like a Blind Guardian album would give you, like just that just awesome epic vibe that just kind of puts you into another world. And this album paints a really good picture. And I don't know, these melodies on here are great. Being Chris Boltendahl or not, he does have a knack for layering his voice to make something big sounding. But even if he does sound like a garbage disposal on his own. So, Chris, if you ever watch my videos, I don't know why you acting like a rock star. You sound like a garbage disposal. But even with that said, I still love your band. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I don't want to make this video too terribly much longer, but yeah, that's Gravedigger in a nutshell. When I get the other two newer albums, I'll do reviews on those. I'm hearing some mixed views on those, so I'm kind of curious what I'm going to think. But anyway, if you like this video, like, subscribe, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Until next time, stay metal.